Welcome to episode 377 of the AHRC Marathon Training Blog. MK here, and today I have a very special guest. David Park is not only a doctor of physical therapy, but he has been crushing workouts as one of the athletes who I have been coaching for the last 10 weeks, even though he has suffered from shin pain through most of his running journey. Everyone, please welcome David Park to the vlog. All right, David, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Coach. Super stoked to be here. I've been keeping up with all of your other athlete and friend interviews that you've been doing, and when you asked if I wanted to do it, I definitely had to hop on that.
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time. Hey, David, can you tell all of our community members a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so same as MK, I'm based in Orange County, California, and MK and I are currently training for the Long Beach Marathon in October. When I'm not training, I'm currently working as a physical therapist. And that's part of the reason why MK and I wanted to do this episode, where I feel like there's just a lot of information out there, which can be both a blessing and a curse, where it's just information overload on, hey, do this, don't do this is good for you, this is bad for you. So
Sure.
we wanted to just kind of share my experience dealing with my personal injury, working with MK, and almost provide kind of a general framework that's a little bit easier to digest and just kind of give you a starting point because it can feel very overwhelming with just the information out there.
Hmm.
But yeah, super stoked to be here.
Thanks so much. So, what kind of patients do you typically work with?
Yeah, so right now during my kind of quote unquote normal 9 to 5 job, I do what's called home health based in Orange County, mainly in the Newport Beach, Huntington Beach area. And basically what that is, I actually go to the patient's home instead of the patient coming to the clinic. And I work with the elderly population. Shout out to everyone's grandmas and grandpas. Basically, if someone is in pain, if someone needs help with their strength or balance, if someone's had a joint replacement, their physician will say, "Hey, I want Dave to come by see you for X amount of days per week, just so that we can keep our elderly population just living life, staying healthy, staying safe." And then on the side, when I'm not doing that, I actually really enjoy working with runners and barbell athletes just to help them overcome injuries, just get back to crushing their training and smashing PRs.
Oh, that's awesome. You do such important work. The community is so fortunate to have you as part of the support that we need so much. Thanks so much for that very important work, David. Um, so tell us a little bit about your running background and how we came to connect and start our running journey together.
Yeah, so running journey started back in high school. I did 2 years of cross country track, just very average. Didn't I wasn't pushing any fast numbers or anything like that. But after high school, I didn't touch running for a very long time. Just hated cardio. I honestly don't even know why I did it back in high school. But I picked it back up a couple of years ago because there was just a lot going on in my life between getting into PT school, loved one had gotten ill, and then I think just between everything that was going on, running was just a place for me to get some me time to kind of
Mm,
decompress. I think just trying to balance spending time with my fiance, taking
oh
care of
wow.
my loved one, making sure I got to stay on top of my studies. If I didn't have running, I think I would have just gone crazy. So that's how I started. And then once my caregiving journey came to an end, I kept up with the running, but it kind of transitioned more where it was just a place for me to have some solitude, to grieve, to just kind of process
Mm,
everything. And that eventually led to me wanting to just push myself, challenge myself, do something very hard that I haven't done before, just for myself, but also just in memory of my loved one. And that's when I signed up for the Long Beach Marathon. So that was
okay.
last year. And that's actually how I came across MK because after the race, which was just a complete mess, I was on YouTube just watching recap videos, just trying to find areas that I could have done better, things I did well. And then I saw that
Mm.
MK had paced his friend through it. And as I was just watching more of his content, just really liked who he was, how passionate he was about running, just his relationship with his kids. And I reached out, and here we are, I think a good 10 weeks into working together. So that's kind of my running background history.
Oh wow, um, my heart goes out to you. My condolences for your loss. But I think you were fortunate to find some type of solace in your own heart through running. I totally can connect with you on that and empathize with you, and I think many others can as well about getting some time with yourself and connecting with yourself by connecting with your environment and other friends through running, and it can be a powerful tool to get back to get back into life. I'm super glad you reached out, and it's been a great 10 weeks. I can't say that it's been picture perfect because when we started, you had mentioned to me about your issues with having shin pain, and that was a major concern as we began because um, a major part of my training philosophy for the marathon is to incorporate volume. Up until then, you had not been able to sustain a high level of volume in your previous marathon. So take us through what it was like when we met, when we first started training together, and what kind of issues that you ran into, the hurdles that you ran into, and um, how we decided to overcome those hurdles.
Yeah, definitely. So when I reached out to you, there was definitely a little thing in the back of my head that made me a little concerned just because it wasn't severe, but it was enough where I knew like, and I knew your training philosophy where a lot of volume. So I was a little concerned. I wasn't sure how my body was going to respond because for a little background context, when I trained for the Long Beach Marathon last year, I did an online program, and towards the back half where the volume was a little bit higher, my body wasn't tolerating it too well. Where it got to the point where for certain long runs, I would just do cross training instead because the shin niggles were
Mm,
something that I dealt with even back then. So heading into training with you, both you and I were like, hey, let's stay in touch. We gotta communicate with each other on how things are feeling, when you're feeling it, if we need to make any tweaks. And luckily, I mean, for the past like 8 weeks, it hasn't been picture perfect, like you said, but just through all of the modifications that you and I made and all of just kind of the, I guess, checklist that we had in place. I mean, I was telling MK right before we hopped on this call that he had me do an 8 mile with some faster 2 mile repeats and knock on wood, but as of right now, I'm feeling solid. So
mm.
that's kind of currently where we're at.
Um, and though none of the modifications involved reduction. Um, all of the modifications actually involved addition, I believe. So maybe take us through like all the components, all the things that you feel like have brought you to where are you at, are you at 50 miles a week right now? Where are you right now at
44.
this point? 44 miles a week. You're at
Yeah.
44 miles a week. We're continuing to increase volume. You'll be at 51 miles really, really soon. Um, yeah, maybe walk us through the structure of the way that you were able to come up to this level of volume much higher than in the past and able to overcome the shin pain.
Sounds good. One thing I do want to highlight though is every case is different, obviously. And one thing for sure is that we have to make sure that you're safe. The reason that MK and I did this is obviously just with my PT background, with his expertise as a coach, we were able to work together. But definitely, if the pain is ridiculously high, if you're having sharp, intense pain, this just get that, like, it's important to get that cleared. You don't want to just send it based off of what MK and I are talking about. But with that
Mm.
out of the way, there's kind of three big components that we like to look at. One being programming. So if someone's programming. The second one is you want to look at a runner's form slash mechanics. And then the last component that I like to look at are the strength slash mobility slash recovery. So did you want to kind of just break down each of those into more detail? Should we go into
Yes,
that?
if you could. Yes,
Yeah.
if you could, please.
So basically, the big goal that we want to achieve is we got to figure out what's going on. Why is the runner that we're working with, why are they in pain? What are their triggers? Like, meaning what movements or positions are bothering their symptoms? What helps with their symptoms? And this is super important because that directly ties into MK and I's very passionate goal of how can we keep this person training in some way, shape, or form, that way that we can, at the minimum, maintain, or even better yet, increase fitness as we're letting this injury calm down and pain levels come to a reasonable level. So basically, at this stage, we're just playing detective. We're trying to figure out what's going on. So in terms of the programming side of things, I like to break it down into volume, intensity, and frequency to see if any of
Mm.
those are triggers. So volume being, um, we like to see how many miles is someone clocking per run and overall weekly mileage. Intensity, we can look at what kind of paces are they pushing for their easy aerobic runs? What are their faster tempo, threshold, VO2 max paces looking like? And then frequency, meaning how often are they running? So oftentimes, when someone comes to you with an injury, or if you're dealing with an injury, you'll find that one, two, or all three of these are going to be triggers. Like, for example, like we saw this a lot during COVID, where people went from
Mm.
not running to suddenly
Sure.
running 20, 30 miles, whatever it may be, multiple times a day multiple times a week when they hadn't done that prior. So volume and frequency would just crank up way too quick. And then in my case, what MK and I found was that intensity was a trigger for me, meaning when he had me do my easier aerobic paces, I was okay. I was able to train. But the second we started pushing the pace to like the strides or the faster tempo work, I was like, hey coach, I'm feeling it a little bit. So that gives us a little bit of insight in terms of programming on certain variables that we can push or pull back on. So that's kind of the first big piece. And then moving on to someone's running form slash mechanics, what we like to do is we have the runner get onto a treadmill and we film them from the front, side, and the back. And what that does is we can basically break down what's happening from the ground up. We look at their foot, ankle, knee, hip, all the way up. And it gives us insight as to what could potentially be causing some of their nagging discomfort. One thing I do want to say is there's no inherently bad like strike pattern or like overstriding. MK's made a great video on that. Just going to plug that in real quick if you want to check that out. I do want to say that because me going through this, I don't want you to kind of freak out if you do get your running analyzed yourself and you're like, oh, I'm having all of these things. Like, no one's perfect. We're all imperfectly perfect.
Sure.
So the way that I run is different from how MK runs. How MK runs is different from how Haven runs. So just take it with a grain of salt. Again, right now we're just playing detective, trying to figure everything out. So that being said, looking at the different angles of the person's form, we get a lot of information. We can see what type of strike pattern they're using, where they may be getting a little bit more movement than we'd like or not enough movement. So by breaking it down, it gives us a lot of information. Because just one quick example, like let's say if we're looking at the type of foot strike that they're doing, certain foot strike patterns require a little bit more out of certain joints and muscles. Like, so for example, like if someone uses a heel strike pattern, that's going to put a little bit more demand on the knee joint and the surrounding musculature versus, let's say, for a forefoot or a midfoot striker, it's going to be a little bit more on the ankle and the surrounding musculature. Not saying that one's better than the other. It's just that that'll give us even more information to kind of figure out what's going on with this person. And the one important, I want to say, like very low hanging fruit that we can utilize when it comes to looking at someone's running mechanics and form is cadence. So this is something that
Mm.
MK and I implemented, where cadence is basically how many steps is someone taking per minute while they're running. And if we find that someone's cadence is a little bit on the lower side, we find that bumping that up can help kind of minimize some of the stresses that are going through the joints, can improve running economy
Mm.
a little bit. So that's one area that MK and I made tweaks for
Mm.
myself personally through these past 10 weeks. So that is the second main block. And then moving on to the third, which is my personal favorite, the strength, mobility, and recovery. We want to analyze someone's strength, especially single leg strength, because if you think about it, all running is we're jumping and landing on one foot over and over and over again for miles
Right.
on end.
Right.
So if we're noticing any significant differences in strength between left and right, that may be an area where we want to dive a little bit deeper into to see. And background wise, when I did the assessment on myself, my left calf and my hip were significantly weaker compared to my right side, which is the side that the left side is where I was dealing with the shin pain. So now that we have all three of these, we have a pretty good idea of someone's triggers, of what what potentially could be causing their discomfort, certain areas of their form. Maybe they're not absorbing force as well. Maybe we can use a little bit more stability here, a little bit more flexibility here. And then in terms of the strength side, maybe we can help out with by supplementing their running program by adding in exercises ABC into the mix. And now that we have that, now is kind of the art of coaching and physical therapy. Because the end goal for just all of us, and just you watching this video, we're all passionate about running. We have lofty goals. So the end goal is the same for all of us. We want to train hard, race fast, crush PRs. Even though the end goal is the same, when we're dealing with injuries, our starting point is going to be different on what you can tolerate. So luckily for
Mm.
me, we were able to keep myself running while we made tweaks to certain areas to get there. But everyone's entry point is going to be different. So me personally, I rarely say, hey, we're just going to shut everything down and you rest for
Mm.
6 weeks, which unfortunately is advice that's given out there
Mm.
um, at times. So let's say if we have someone who does have pretty severe discomfort, maybe unfortunately, okay, we're not going to run, but we can do some non-impact, low impact activities like swimming, cycling, elliptical. That way that we're still addressing the cardio side while we supplement with the exercises, mobility stuff that we found to bring the pain levels down. And then we can slowly reintroduce running and back into their program. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the framework that I personally go through, just looking at those three big buckets and then seeing what areas that we can pull back on, what areas we can push, just to get someone feeling good and then running fast again.
Wow. I think a lot of people um have something really important to learn today because I think a lot of people will find it very surprising that rest isn't the very first kind of recommendation that comes out uh, of professional opinion. But you feel like taking a more of an active approach, um, taking this three-pronged approach of assessment, evaluation, and also action. You have to take these actions, which is not easy to do. But you actually um, did all of the exercises. You did all of the work. You communicated when you had issues, and we made changes as necessary. Um, I think that's a giant lesson to learn. I think that just staying on the status quo and hoping it goes away, that's not going to work. Um, uh, Getting off of the program, a training program, and just resting, that's not going to work. Um, but it's a little bit complicated, but like you said, understanding the programming. Walk us through that again. Understanding the programming, and then what?
The three buckets or like the three big,
Yes.
or yeah. So we have someone's programming, we have their running form slash mechanics, and then probably the most under done, or runners usually typically don't strength train. So strength and mobility is the last big piece in this whole thing.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And I think it's a testament to just your commitment to achieving your goal, instead of letting it get you down or being stalled by frustration. Instead, you went into problem solving mode and, okay, what do I need to do to solve this problem? What do I need to do to relieve this discomfort, instead of just throwing your hands up? So that's what made working with you, David, such a pleasure, because you were in such I wouldn't say you're just being positive, because a lot of times like positivity is not enough. Because then a lot of the athletes who I coach who are just positive don't do anything about their issue. But what you took a very pragmatic approach. You worked with me, communicated with me, you assessed, and then you took the necessary action. And I think that that was invaluable, and made for a very good uh, coaching experience for me.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey, and it's crazy to think that we're pretty early on. We haven't even really gone into the thick of it yet because we're still looking at a good 3, 4 months before the Long Beach Marathon. So just super stoked to keep pushing, keep growing, keep learning, and yeah, just get faster with you.
Yeah, actually, we are currently at the end of this week, 15 weeks out from the Long Beach Marathon, and David has um, just started the marathon build with us. So it's been great. Now he's starting to do the uh, a lot more quality running, in order to specifically train for the marathon. And we're going to hold at around 50 miles per week. And what is your goal for the Long Beach Marathon, David?
Right now, Ken and I are shooting for 3:37. If training goes well, three sub 3:30 would that'd be a dream. Just because for reference, when I ran Long Beach last year, I finished in 5 hours and 5 minutes. So even the fact that we're shooting for 3:40, that's huge. But yeah, that's currently where we're at right now.
Well, that's awesome. It's great to see the passion, see the positive energy, and I feel like you're doing all the right things to enable, to allow for all the goals to happen. And um, I feel so positive about where you're headed, and I think you're going to have many great things to come, not just at Long Beach, but in your future races as well. I think your approach is super great. It's exactly what you need to achieve your goals, and I'm really happy for you that you're able to um, not just kind of connect with yourself through running, but uh, to experience this part of the running journey, the competitive part, the challenge to yourself part, and trying to win every day. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring to watch.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because I mean I already see the progress just out of coming out of the base build, and now that we're going more marathon specific, like you said, I mean I'm stoked to see what you and I can do together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, can you tell everybody where they could find you on social media, either professionally or personally?
Yeah, my Instagram is Park, my last name, so Park Physio Performance, and then you can find me on Strava. I think it's David Park. I'm not too sure, but
It
I follow
is.
MK, so you can find me through that.
It is David Park. And yeah, if you are looking for a qualified physical therapist who can help you with your running specific injury and rehabilitation, then please look up David Park um, for a very um, cerebral approach, very practical approach, and someone who is easy to communicate with and talk to. Definitely worth your while. Hey, David, any last words for our all heart community?
Yeah. First, just want to say thanks for having me again. This is super cool to be a part of. I think my final message I want to kind of direct it towards someone that may be dealing with an injury. I know how frustrating it can be, especially if you follow MK. I know you're a passionate runner. You have big goals for yourself, and I know how annoying, frustrating it can be when you're just trying to train, trying to get to those goals, and an injury pops up. Hang in there. And I just say, just surround yourself, just have people in your corner that care about you, care about your goals, and have your best interest in mind. Because there's that, it can be a journey, right? I mean, MK and I were saying that this didn't happen overnight. We were very meticulous about it. There were definitely frustrating sessions where I texted him saying, "Hey, I don't know about this." But just take it one day at a time, and uh, yeah, just one day at a time. And I think the running community is very special. We're all in it together. So I think kind of rambling, but I guess I just want to say, hang in there. MK and I are here for you.
For sure. What a great thought to end on. Hey, thanks everyone for making it all the way to the end of this valuable interview on how to overcome injury in a very active process or active way. Please like this video, help get it out to as many people as possible. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. It helps out our channel a ton. Be sure to look us up on Strava. You can find us at MK at AHRC and Instagram at AllHeartRC. I am super motivated now after speaking with David. I hope you are too. I hope you also have a great day and a meaningful run. We'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye now.